#idataengineer.
My name is Daniel. Some call me the Data Janitor, and I'm building Pipeline Data Engineering Academy, the world's first data engineering bootcamp. Not one of today's data engineers grew up as a kid imagining becoming one. I definitely didn't. That made me think about how others look at our line of work, and I feel the best way to explain it is through asking a handful of practitioners about their journey and how their work look like.
Who are you and what do you do now?
My name is Mikalai Syty. I'm actually originally from Belarus, but have been living in Germany for quite some time. I think it's more than 6 years now. I'm a software engineer in data engineering and currently at the company called Blinkist.
How did you end up as a data engineer?
Back in Belarus, about 6-7 years ago, I have been working as an industrial automation engineer. So it's totally different domain. At the same time, I was working on distributed control systems and emergency shutdown systems in chemistry. And so those are like real-time systems with very high safety requirements and with a lot of data. But the tools, the vendors, the technologies that I use there, they're quite different from high tech or IT. And I think the problems that I had there was the implementation cycle. You can work on the product, but it's kind of like goes into production in years. And therefore I decided, okay, like I always liked programming. I was tinkering with it in school when I was a teenager, but then decided, like industry is more fancy. It's more serious, let's say. But so I changed my mind. I went to Germany to study for my master's degree, and that was informational technology. I did an internship and master thesis in the research at Bosch, where I was working on data-heavy projects in smart home, and but this was like very, very research. And when I remember now the data pipelines that I was building there, they worked, but like I would never do it again this way that I was doing at that time. And after being a student, after graduating with my master's degree, I went to industry and joined the company that was building industrial IoT platform. Primarily, my work was backend, and it's gradually because of the domain, because of the industry. And as you can imagine, industrial IoT, it means a lot of data, a lot of time series data, and a lot of insights that you can get out of it and build a product for the customers. So that's where my first exposure to stream processing, to kind of like micro batch processing started to happen. And after being there for 3 years, I think, I created a very solid software engineering base. And that at the same time helped me to realize that the direction that I would want to go is into this direction of insights from data and how to build products out of it. After that, after being in the company there for 3 years, I moved to Berlin and joined innovation lab of a big corporate. And this was also in kind of like IoT world in a way. But instead of industrial machines that are connected to the cloud, those were trucks that are moving, meaning that there is also a lot of data, but the domain is different. The product had so many opportunities to develop and help customers in, let's say, data domain. So there is a massive amount of data that customer can look at, but it's so difficult to process it and make insights very fast, even for humans, when there are so many things are connected. So that's where I was working on initiatives and features that were very heavy data-driven and machine learning based. So this was my first exposure and like first learnings how to bring it to production for high amount of customers, how you can apply the best software engineering practices to data engineering and machine learning in production. So I think that was very exciting. But now I'm at Blinkist, and this is like totally different business, totally different domain. It's not B2B, it's B2C, and there is a lot of customers, and the product is great. And what I'm primarily doing now, this includes like data pipelining, the classical one, with heavy usage of serverless technologies on the cloud provider that we are. It's AWS. It's quite classical in a way, so data warehousing, data lake engineering. And I think my passion more goes into the direction of recommendational systems. So also how you can basically come closer to the customer and to help him or her to enjoy the product. And this is what I'm like currently focusing on engineering of recommendational system in the app.
Okay, so it might even answer my next question, which is like, what projects, tools, or trends do excite you these days?
There are so many of them. Like I think last week I heard about Cube.js that I really want to look at. It's kind of like pre-compute SQL. But I think so in general, the trend for cloud native and like open source projects that you can kind of like bundle together and get a product out of it. So I think it excites me that the entry barrier for companies, even for individuals, is very low now to get up and running ideas based on data. But I think from the trends, since for me coming from a chemical industry in that industrial automation there, I like when things are stable, resilient, and don't lead to disasters. So I think that's the trend for observability and monitoring right now in data. That's what I find really exciting. And this like data reliability, like there are a lot of companies, startups in this space, like Monte Carlo, BK, and like I'm just looking how they are developing, because I think the value is huge there. Because when I think like you can make decisions without data, and like this is fairly bad, but if you make a decisions based on bad data, I think it's even worse. So that's why like our data pipelines, our data warehouses, they better be correct and working nicely.
Indeed. Yeah, garbage in, garbage out. How do you see the role of data and data engineering changing in the coming years?
It will only grow. The role, the importance, companies will invest more in it, and both into the growing talent and also in the technologies around it. So I think I see only growth there. Maybe the thing that is still kind of like lagging behind is all the like software engineering practices and this to come. But I think it will just get more stable. It will get more trust, and I think it's a very nice domain to be.
What piece of advice would you give the ones who are just starting the journey as a data engineer?
To focus a little bit more at the beginning about software engineering and best practices there. And I think I could just recommend the book. It's Martin Kleppmann, Designing Data Intensive Systems. And this book alone just helps to build the understanding of fundamentals, how distributed systems work, what makes them reliable, what makes them usable. And I think this is a great source of knowledge. I would recommend it to everyone.
Thank you.
If you are a data engineer and you feel like sharing your story, reach out. I'd be happy to chat with you.
#IDataEngineer